I'm Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here we talk about true crime and psychology. Thank you so much for joining. Let's hop right into today's topic. Let's go. Welcome. If you could put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. As soon as I set my intro, I realized that my audio setting, it's coming through it's not coming through the way I want it to. I gotta love technology. So let me try to see if I can switch it over to my Rodecaster. Thank you all so much. Today we are also covering this case. So is when I feel, there we go, like it can be helpful. And the aspect of this case that I think we can talk about is youth violence, because this was a really tragic event. And Kayla, the victim, along with her 2 other friends, they were just out at the movies, finished watching a movie, and they were walking to McDonald's. That is something that they should have been able to do and not become victims of crime. Kayla lost her life that day. And so, for a background of this case, it was back in 2024. The defendant in this case was 16 at the time. His co-defendant, Christopher Horne, was also 16. Christopher Horne still has to be sentenced, so he pled guilty, but he got a deal with the state. And as long as he was truthful in his testimony, and I have questions about how truthful Christopher Horne was in his testimony, because the victims that survived this attempted robbery, they said there were 4 people that jumped out of the car, and Christopher said there were only 2, and Thomas said that there were 4. And so that is where, but Thomas says, I don't know, he tries to minimize the robbery. There's a lot here. Okay. So there is a lot here in this case. Hi, if you were following the Tanner Horner case, I did do a video earlier on that one. And so you can check out my coverage of that a little bit earlier. And I will be playing some clips, because I think seeing some of this, there'll be short clips. They're not going to be long clips, but I will be sharing a few clips from this trial. So Kayla Rincon-Miller and her friends, they had just finished watching a movie at a theater in Cape Coral on March 17th, 2024, shortly before 10 p.m. The 3 girls were walking to get food, and they were approached by a vehicle that Thomas was driving, and Thomas's mother had rented this vehicle. And I do think some of his behavior after, and Thomas did testify. So we are going to watch a piece of Thomas's testimony as well, where he's being cross-examined by the state, because I think he was less than forthright too, because the state was not able to prove to the jury that he was the one that had the pew-pew. The jury did find him guilty, but they did not find that he was the one holding the weapon. But in the state of Florida, the way the jury instructions are written, and in most states, if you are committing a crime and somebody dies during that crime, you can be found guilty of that crime. The state does not have to put it in your hand. There does not have to be a plan to unalive somebody. So if there's a plan to rob people, and in the midst of that robbery, somebody dies, you can be held liable for that person's death. And that's what happened here. And so I do personally think that the jury got it right. Now, and I don't think he wanted to plead guilty. I think he thought he might have been found innocent. The state did not call his co-defendant. So the defense is the one that called, it's my understanding of how this all went based on the state's closing and watching pieces of this trial. The trial was only 4 days. So if you want to go back and binge it, it was only 4 days. But the defense is the one that called the co-defendant, because I think they also wanted to bring up some other aspects. So before this trial even started, while they were trying to panel a jury, Christopher Horne and Thomas Stein's family, they get into a verbal altercation in the presence of this panel, to the point where the entire panel ends up being released. So the entire panel ends up being released, and they have to bring out a whole new group of jurors because they did not want to prejudice the jury based on seeing that. So that happened before. And then after the verdict, if you watch the verdict stream, somebody makes some type of outburst, and I put on Court TV's feed because I was like, what did the person say? And somebody said the person screamed out, mind your business or something. And I don't know if that's true, but supposedly somebody had a big outburst even after the verdict was read as well. So I want to just show a little bit of Thomas. I've been covering Tanner Horne. This is Thomas Stein. I want to cover a little bit of Thomas's mother's testimony. And Thomas's testimony, I think a part of that, but I think he won't testify because his co-defendant testified. I could be wrong, but I think he wanted to tell his side and try to be more forthright and try to say more than what Chris said, but it still didn't help, because I don't know if we knew for sure that Thomas was selling schmugs. I don't know that we knew. I don't think we knew all that we ended up finding out. And he tried to minimize some things, but it didn't come out great during this. Yeah. So it was at the very, I'll try to see if I can catch it, but like it's like this weird outburst that happens at the very end of the street. And it's because you see everybody turn around. So I'll try to see if I can if I can find that. All right. So let's share my screen so we can watch a little bit of the mother. I apologize for the audio on this one. I'm not going to interrupt it. So this is Thomas's mother. I believe her name is Jessica. And so the state presented that based on Thomas's testimony, his mom allowed him to smoke, and he had access to, at least he had access to a pew pew. So for this incident, Thomas provided the car, he provided 2 pew pews, and like he was the driver. So, but he's trying to say that he didn't want to, that he didn't do things. It didn't look good. It didn't look good. Okay. So let's just play a little bit of this. I believe they're pausing for a moment. So try to close captions. All right. So let's go on ahead and play it from here.
Question about you going to a park with this group of people. At this point, had your son been arrested for the murder of Kayla Rincon-Miller?
No.
Was he present with you at the park?
Yes.
And had Christopher Horne been arrested for the murder?
No.
And was he present with the group at the park?
Yes.
And in that meeting, did you have discussions about how to get rid of evidence, or
Objection calls for hearsay.
generally speaking, did you have that discussion?
You can ask her what she said.
Judge, I would posit to the court that even what she is saying outside the court is also hearsay, Judge.
Ooh.
Did you engage in any discussions about getting rid of evidence?
Judge, objection as to the vague nature of the question.
Ooh.
Can you ask the question again?
Did you have any discussions with the Horne family about getting rid of evidence?
Christopher Horne Sr. was giving me instructions of how to get rid of evidence.
And
However, I did not follow them.
and was there a discussion about some of the evidence Kate Coral might be looking for?
I don't remember everything. I really
So,
don't
hold on
remember.
one second.
All right. And at some point during her testimony, they ended up, so Thomas kind of is wiping away tears, but at the point he's wiping away tears, I was wondering if the tears were about he didn't feel like this was going well. That was the point. At the point where he was wiping away tears, because to me, for when I was watching, it didn't seem like the testimony was going well. Because I believe it was on cross-examination, or at the time, so the state asked her, "Where is the Glock?" And that weapon is missing. She has never seen it after this incident. And Thomas is going to tell us what he did with it. And I don't think his answer was all that great, the answer he gave. But we are going to take a look at that. Next, we are going to take a look at some of the testimony of the co-defendant, because he did come across combative. Now, I think he didn't like the way that some of the questions were being asked, but there was some concern of because he just didn't come across very forthright. He didn't. So let me share this.
Were you aware that they offered to pay for?
All right. So let me just make sure I'm at the right spot. Yep, I'm right around the right spot. So this is Christopher Horne Jr., and he did a deal. So his deal is for up to 25 years, but he has not been sentenced yet. So that is only if he has been completely forthright with all of this, then he might get that maximum of 25 years, because I believe he's facing life in prison without that 25 years. And I don't know that he was completely right in his testimony, because two of the individuals that may have been in the car, it sounded like they might have been his cousins, or he might have known, I don't know, they might be family or close friends or something like that. The two other people that were picked up that were in the car. So I don't know. I don't know if he was completely forthright. So that'll be up to the judge. That'll be up to his sentencing. He has not been sentenced. And once again, he pled guilty. So let's go ahead and start at this part of the testimony. He's being asked questions by the defense.
Thomas Stein's legal services?
No, I told him don't contact him.
He's currently being asked questions about his family. So what his family did, those are the questions that are being asked. And I apologize, the volume on the court side is low.
When did you offer to provide testimony to the state?
A year in.
A year in. So if you were arrested in April 2024, that means you reached out in April 2025?
Yeah, I think so.
When were your parents and auntie's case tried?
When I went down there, I told him what happened.
So now something that is not going to come into the case. So there is an audio recording out there that the audio recording was illegally obtained, and the jury does not know about this audio recording. But part of the reason why, because Christopher Horne's some family members were arrested based on allegations Thomas's mom made, and they found that those allegations were not true based on an audio recording. And on the recording, I believe Thomas admitted to being involved in this whole situation, but the jury, it does like it's completely left out. But the state put part of that on the record. There is a lawyer. His name is like Jay. His part of his name is Jay. If you search this case, his videos should come up. He covered that part of it, the part that was left out, and some of the courtroom drama that's happened with this case. All right, so I'm gonna go on ahead. I'm glad we have closed captions. He talks slow, and as it goes on, he kind of sinks further down. He does not want to be there. You can tell he does not want to be there. He starts sinking further and further down into the chair. So let's play this part.
In addition to your parents and your aunt's face being dropped, were you made an offer on this case if you cooperated?
Yeah,
What's the offer?
25 years in prison.
25 years in prison. Is that with a minimum mandatory? So no minimum mandatory.
No mandatory.
Not taking that offer, what were you exposed to?
What you mean?
What were you looking at if you didn't take that offer?
Life.
Life. And to your understanding, life in Florida means life.
Yeah.
So you go into a box, you get carried out in a box.
Yeah.
Of that 25 years, because you don't have a minimum mandatory, what will you actually be serving?
21.
21 years?
Yeah.
Good time and gain time.
Yeah.
And that's minus your time you've already served, is that correct?
Yeah.
So you'll be out in 19 years.
Yeah.
What do you have to do in order to get that deal?
Do this.
You have to testify.
Yeah.
But not just testify, right? You have to testify truthfully.
Yeah.
What happens if the state says you weren't truthful in your testimony?
Let me get life.
The plea is off the table and you're getting life.
Yeah.
Just take a moment. Two more things. You didn't give one proffer to the city, you gave two, is that correct?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I want to tell them the truth about my parents at first. The
You weren't-
evidence.
You weren't telling the truth about your parents and the evidence at first.
Yeah.
Did Thomas Stein ever threaten to call 911 and call the police and tell them what happened?
He was trolling. Yeah.
He was trolling?
Yeah, he called my phone after it happened. And he was trolling, playing, trolling.
He wanted to call the police.
No, he was trolling. He was playing, he was joking, laughing about the situation, thinking it's funny.
He was thinking it's fun.
Yeah, he was trolling, thinking it's funny.
This situation here with the Kayla Rincon-Miller being dead and shot.
Yeah.
And a robbery gone sideways.
Yeah.
You're saying he thought that was funny.
Yeah, he thought it was all a joke.
What did you do when he threatened to call 911?
I told him, I said, hey, bro, you flagging. I hung up the phone on him.
What's that?
I hung up the phone on him.
You hung up the
I'm glad they had closed captions because he said your flag. Like I couldn't hear it when I watched it live, but I can see the closed captions. Thank you to whoever did the closed captions.
phone on him.
Yeah.
Were you scared?
Yeah, I was scared for what happened the other night. I kept thinking about it. That flash.
You were scared he was going to call the police, right?
No,
And rat you out.
no. Why you doing all that screaming, bro? All you gotta do is talk calm. I ain't do nothing to nobody. I don't do nothing like that.
Judge, I'd like the record to reflect that I haven't raised my voice, Mr. Holmes.
Yes, he is. He is raising his voice.
So I think that was just the attorney's talking voice. I didn't think the attorney was raising his voice, but I think he was starting to get frustrated. And I think he heard it as a raised voice, but I think he was just starting to get frustrated. We're going to watch a little bit of Thomas's testimony
to the gun range to practice playing with.
All right. And so let me just make sure I have it at the right spot. 52. All right. So this is on cross-examination by the state. Thomas did decide to testify. That is the defendant in this case. He decided to testify. So let's hear. The state is asking him questions about like his family and different questions like that. I might pause it at times, but we're gonna watch a little bit of this.
In total.
Like somewhere around there, 3 or 4 times, maybe 5.
And in those 3 to 4 times, I think you indicated that he was always smoking your weed and wanting rides.
Pretty much.
So the times that you hung out with him on those 3 to 4 occasions, you were always driving him around and supplying him weed?
Yes, ma'am.
But you charged Jaden Fernandez for marijuana, isn't that right?
Yes, ma'am.
But you didn't charge Christopher Horne?
When I'm with him, I'm not just like selling them. Like if I'm smoking, I'm not gonna just like.
Anyone that's new to this case, when they mention Jaden was not involved in this incident at all. That's just a friend. That was a friend that he used to sell to. And so, but he had only known Christopher Horne for I think a month, maybe. Like they were not close friends. They had not known each other. They hadn't known each other for a long time. So we'll keep it going. All right.
Like sell it to him, I'll just let him smoke it with me, or like just being like friends. Like I'm not gonna charge him just to smoke with me.
The person that you knew and hung out with 3 to 4 times, you were gonna charge him to smoke?
Not with me. But if he wanted to buy something, I would let him.
When Jaden Fernandez contacted you to buy weed on the night of the murder, he wanted how much?
$20 worth.
How much is that?
2 grams.
So and there was a little dispute that night about whether you'd actually given him 2 grams or 1.9 grams, isn't that
That's
right? It's not a large amount of weed, is it?
Yeah, it was. I don't really remember him saying anything about it, but I think on the scale of like 1.9, and it was supposed to be 2 grams, so I didn't think it was a big issue.
But that's your friend that you've been friends with for quite a long time, right?
Yeah, like the missing amount was probably like $1 worth, so it wasn't an issue.
And you spent all day with Jaden Fernandez at the beach?
Yes, ma'am.
Had a good time together?
Yes, ma'am.
And he asks you for $20 of 2 grams of weed and you sell it to him instead of giving it to him?
Yes, ma'am.
But that's because you're running an operation through this Telegram app, is that right?
Pretty much.
Okay, so you're using your Instagram to advertise your business, your weed selling business on Telegram?
Yes.
So you're not gonna give away your product?
It depends on who like my friends are. I might like bless them up or just give them something for free.
And going back to March 17th, that night, once you left your home with that Pathfinder, you were the driver the entire night. Is that fair? I'm sorry, I was speaking over you. Was that a yes or a no?
No.
And I believe you said you were okay with the car hopping, but you weren't okay with doing things other than car hopping. That's your testimony?
So car hopping is when they were trying to find cars that were unlocked to like steal things out of those cars. So he's saying he was okay with that, but that he didn't want to go up on somebody and rob a person. That's what he's saying. He was the one driving. Okay.
Today?
Yes, ma'am. I wasn't aware anything else was going to happen.
But if your testimony is that if you had been made aware, you would have said, nope, I'm not participating in this.
Absolutely.
And you would have turned the car right back around and taken everyone back home.
Most likely.
Well, most likely, or no?
Objection, Judge. Speculation. They're talking about hypotheticals at this point.
I think it's been asked and answered, so it's the same, but.
And in fact, when Christopher Horne had suggested going car hopping, you actually just wanted to do it closer in a location where there weren't so many people who could potentially catch you. Isn't that true?
Yes, ma'am.
And it's your testimony that after you dropped Jaden Fernandez off that night, that you were simply listening to music and hanging out with Christopher Horne?
Yes, after I dropped Jadon off, that's when we got on the live video.
Oh, so that live video where you all were rapping about lots of different things, that was the listening to music?
What do you mean rapping about different types of things?
There might be some words that are said here. There might be some racy words if you have young ears around. Okay, there might be racy words.
Well, you tell me, what was that song about?
That was
relevance.
Ooh. Good.
Oh, what was the song about?
Mm-hmm.
The song, that was Christopher's song. That wasn't me rapping. That was just a song on the stereo.
Oh, that was just playing in
Yeah.
the car that you're driving.
Yes, ma'am.
He's launched this song on the
He
stereo.
has the aux cord on Bluetooth.
So I understand that you're saying it's Christopher's song, but what was the song about?
About telling, like, I heard him say something like, oh, that pussy telling, and stuff of that sort. I think he said something about shooting someone. Like, I
He shouldn't have took this. I don't know if he should have took the stand, but I think he didn't like what Christopher said, because Christopher pretty much put the weapon in his hand, because Christopher said that he's the one. It was just the two of them, and he's the one that shot. That was Christopher's testimony. I don't think it was accurate. He's going to blame JD. And he did not know JD. He does not know JD's real name. The state has said that they will prosecute any person that they find. Like, if they're able to identify anybody else. They tried to ping tower locations, and his phone and Christopher's phone were the only two phones that pinged in these areas. But that was okay. We'll keep it going for a little bit longer.
don't really remember. I only heard it for a little bit.
So the song that you're playing on, doing the live on your Instagram, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You're scrolling through while you're driving, shouting out people who are commenting to you and Chris, isn't that right?
I gave the phone to Chris, and that's kind of when he was showing the firearm that I gave him, and then he kind of passed.
So he just admitted to bringing two. So he brought two firearms to this event. So he gave Chris a firearm, and he had a firearm too. Live on Instagram. I think it was like on Instagram or TikTok. It was live on some type of social media, probably Instagram. So the going live, that was them on like Instagram or TikTok or something. It was social media.
Passed it to me after that, and I was just like, I had it sitting down on my lap while I was driving. And then that's when I said, I noticed people joining out of news, so I was like saying what's up to them.
And now somewhere in this time, Christopher Horne said he wanted to pick up some other friends.
Yes, ma'am.
And what is it that you all were gonna do?
Just hang out.
Where?
What Chris told me. I don't know, just go somewhere.
Well, you're the driver. What was the plan?
We didn't have any particular like thing planned. We just kind of going in the moment.
The church where you're saying you picked them up is in North Fort Myers, isn't that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Your home is in North Fort Myers, isn't that right?
Yes, ma'am. Right down the road.
And you picked up Christopher and brought him back all the way to where your home is in North Fort Myers, isn't that right?
Yes, ma'am. We didn't drive directly back to the house. That's when we drove to the AMC, then back to my house. And that's kind of when we picked up Jaden.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's kind of where we picked up Buster's friends at the church.
All over in North Fort Myers.
Yes, ma'am.
And for some reason, you drove all the way down to Cape Coral
Yes, ma'am.
to the Marquee Cinemas.
Yes.
Well, were you going to go to the movies?
No, ma'am.
You're going to go to a restaurant there?
No, ma'am.
So when you're saying that you're hanging out, does that just mean driving around?
Yeah, I would consider that hanging out just in the vehicle. I didn't know them, so it was awkward for me. But I don't know.
It sounds like it would be awkward since you're saying you don't know who these people are,
Yes,
but you're gonna hang out with them for an indefinite period of time?
not indefinite, just for the night.
Well, when were you gonna drop them back off?
I'm not sure.
Where were you gonna drop them back off?
I don't know. They
Oy. So I don't think his testimony helped. That's just my own personal thought and opinion. He did testify. Um, Let me see which link to the verdict I have. If I have the one where we can catch the outburst at the end. Yeah, I think I do. Okay, good. So, and then after we talk about this, I want to talk about preventing youth violence and then also Kayla's house, because the victim's family in this case, they have started an organization to combat youth violence, and so the jury's instructions and what the jury had to decide was there an attempted robbery? And in closing arguments, I think the state did a good job talking about the eyewitnesses. So there were two surviving there were two surviving witnesses that talked. There were four people because Chris said two, and there was definitely a weapon that was fired, and Kayla died from her injuries. And so even if Thomas did not have the weapon, if what they were out there to do was to rob someone, then that is, and what he did after. So on the stand, he's going to say that he, he's going to say that he sold the Glock. So the weapon he had, he's going to say he sold it. Christopher's going to say the weapon he had, he threw into a lake, river, he threw into some body of water. And it's so much. And I heard that I'm still having some internet issues. I'm gonna have to work it out. I tried to close less tabs. And what I might end up eventually having to do is have like a streaming PC, to have a PC that's just for streaming. And I will look into those things. But yes. All right. But the good thing is my internet speed. So it's definitely not my internet speed. So that is good to know. I did agree with the jury's verdict. So let's go on ahead and get to the verdict in this case. I wonder if they cut the end off. Maybe they didn't. Okay, let's go ahead and get to the verdict.
All right, the court finds the verdict form has been filled out and dated and signed by the court person. I will give it to the clerk to publish the verdict.
In the Circuit Court of the 20th Judicial Circuit in Lee County, Florida, criminal action. State of Florida versus Thomas Stein, case number 24 CF 000272. Verdict. We, the jury, finds as follows as to the defendant in this case. Count 1, first-degree felony murder. The defendant is guilty of first-degree felony murder. Count 2, attempted robbery. Kayla Christina Rincon-Miller. The defendant is guilty of attempted robbery with a firearm. Count 3, attempted robbery. Luann DeJay. The defendant is guilty of attempted robbery with a firearm. Count 4, attempted robbery. Emma Wright. The defendant is guilty of attempted robbery with a firearm. So say we all, dated May 4th, 2026, foreperson. In the Circuit Court of the 20th Judicial Circuit, Lee County, Florida, criminal action. State of Florida versus Thomas Stein. Case number 24 CF 000272. Special findings as to first-degree felony murder. If you found the defendant guilty of first-degree felony murder, you must then answer the following questions. Do you unanimously find beyond reasonable doubt that the defendant actually killed, intended to kill, or attempted to kill Kayla Christina Rincon-Miller? No. Do you unanimously find beyond reasonable doubt that during the commission of the crime, the defendant personally carried, displayed, or used a firearm? Yes. Do you unanimously find beyond a reasonable doubt that during the commission of the crime, the defendant actually possessed a firearm? Yes. Do you unanimously find beyond a reasonable doubt that during the commission of the crime, the defendant discharged a firearm? No. Do you unanimously find beyond a reasonable doubt that during the commission of the crime, the defendant discharged a firearm and in doing so caused the death of Kayla Christina Rincon-Miller? No.
So he is, Mama, you said disappointed. I think he's upset. And so I think he thought he should be found not guilty. So the story he tried to tell on the stand is that that JD knew one of the girls and got out and had an argument with her. And he got out to be like, hey, y'all, let's just go. But he denied that he tried to rob them. That's what he said. His story doesn't make any sense. His story doesn't make any sense at all. So he makes it sound like he thought they were pretty and they were going to talk to them. But the girl's story from the start, the girl's story is it was scary and it was a robbery. That's what the surviving witnesses testified to. And I did think it was interesting that the jury did not find that the state proved that the weapon was in his hand. So, and he admitted that he sold the weapon that he had in his hand. He didn't throw it away. He didn't give it away. He said he sold it, which is illegal, but okay. Because he was 16 years old at the time. I believe he's 18 years old now. So he was 16 at the time. That's my understanding based on some news reporting. So based on news reporting, I believe he was 16 or 17. I saw 16 in the news reporting I saw. And the victim in this case, Kayla, she was 15 years old, and I believe her friends were like a few years older. Yeah, he's not taking any accountability. He looks mad, and he's going to continue to look mad, and we'll watch it and talk about it.
So say we all dated May 4th, 2026 for person. In the Circuit Court of the 20th Judicial Circuit in Horne County, Florida, criminal action. State of Florida versus Thomas Stein. Case number 24 CF 000272. Special findings as to count 2, attempted robbery, Kayla Christina Rincon-Miller. If you found the defendant guilty of attempted robbery, you must then answer the following question. Do you unanimously find beyond a reasonable doubt that during the commission of the crime, the defendant actually possessed a firearm? Yes. So say we all dated May 4th, 2026 for person. In the Circuit Court of the 20th Judicial Circuit in Horne County, Florida, criminal action, State of Florida versus Thomas Stein, case number 24 CF 000272. Special findings as to count 3, attempted robbery, Louis DeJay. If you found the defendant guilty of attempted robbery, you must then answer the following questions. Do you unanimously find beyond reasonable doubt that during the commission of the crime, the defendant actually possessed a firearm? Yes. So say we all dated May 4th, 2026 for person.
This is a great comment. So Brandy says, I think he's mad because he didn't shoot her. But the law was clear because he was participating, he was just as culpable. And so even if you show up, so like if you go to a bank and you say, I have a gun, and even if you don't have a gun, that's an armed robbery. And he did have a weapon at this robbery, he's likely going to get life in prison. They do have to do, because he was a minor at the time of the offense. There's a special sentencing. There's special things they have to do. So I want to say they scheduled his sentencing date. I want to say it was like July. They had to go back and forth with dates, but there are some special things they have to do because he was a minor at the time of the offense, and so. Yeah, I think he's looking back at his family. I think that's who he's looking back at.
In the Circuit Court of the 20th Judicial Circuit in Forley County, Florida, criminal action, State of Florida versus Thomas Stein, case number 24 CF 000272. Special findings to count 4, attempted robbery, Emma Wright. If you found the defendant guilty of attempted robbery, you must then answer the following question. Do you unanimously find beyond reasonable doubt that during the commission of the crime, the defendant actually possessed a firearm? Yes. So say we all, dated May 4th, 2026, 4-person.
Does that party wish to have the jury polled?
Yes.
All right. Give a chance.
Juror number 301. Is this your verdict and the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
Juror 2.
Oh no, they cut it off. Boo. Okay, so they cut off that part. Let me see if there's a stream up that still has the full sentence, that still has that outburst at the end. People might have cut it off. I saw it, I think it was last night, because the jury started deliberating yesterday. Was it yesterday? My brain. I want to say it was yesterday. I could be wrong, but yeah. Thomas Stein. It was all right. I want to see that's off of this one too. Yeah, so this one didn't cut it off, I don't think. Maybe they did. Hold on. Let's see which day this was.
And we're going to answer that question. Do that second.
All right, but if you find it and go back, because like I said, there was something that happened at the end that caused a bit of a ruckus, and I think they ended up cutting it out. Yeah. Well, so it wasn't an outburst. So it's like somebody came in and shouted something after the verdict had already been read. Somebody came in and shouted something. I did just want to share, because Kayla's family has an organization set up in her memory, and to help make sure that youth violence doesn't, that nobody else has to be a victim and experience what they have as a family. So ending gun violence together, education, advocacy, and support for communities affected by gun violence. And it's called Kayla's House. It's a nonprofit organization. I believe it just started in March of this year, committed to raising awareness about gun violence and safeguarding young teens through targeted education programs, advocacy, and community support initiatives. And so about Kayla's House. Kayla was born from unimaginable loss and enduring love. Founded, in November 2025, in memory of our beloved Kayla. This nonprofit was created after her life was tragically taken by gun violence. While our hearts are broken, our mission became clear. Kayla's House exists to raise awareness about gun violence among young teens, to educate and empower families, and to inspire communities to choose prevention and compassion and action. Through every life we reach and every conversation we start, we honor Kayla's legacy by moving toward a future where no child's life is cut short and no family has to endure this pain. Her light lives on through change. And so statistics in Southwest Florida. So firearms are the second leading cause of death for children aged 1 to 17 in Florida. That's probably only after car accidents. I don't know for sure, but I would guess, some type of accident was, but number 2 is firearms. There's been a 65% increase in the past over the past 2 decades. In Florida, middle and high school students reporting access to a handgun, and increase in firearm related deaths, a 50% increase in firearm related deaths in teens nationwide. And so they have the citations for that research. So they've partnered with Crime Stoppers, and there is a video that they have. And so I do have links to this website down in the description. They had an event on, I think it was March 14th of 2026. And it was a youth-focused, drug-free event designed to inspire and connect. They will likely do more things in the future. And so I just wanted to share that with you all. Yeah, very beautiful girl, gone way too soon. And so I only share these cases if we can learn something. And I did want to talk about risk factors for youth violence. And so individuals are at an increased risk to harm others. So most people that have a history of victimization do not victimize others, but some people that are the victims of crime then also go on to do a crime. So history of violent victimization, ADHD or learning disorders, involvement with drugs, alcohol, or tobacco, poor behavioral control, deficits in social, cognitive, or information processing abilities, high emotional distress, so like a poor sense of emotional control, history of treatment. And so once again, these are just risk factors. It does not mean that somebody will be aggressive, but somebody that has anger management problems plus access to a weapon, that can create problems. Somebody that's having issues in school and hanging out and has antisocial beliefs and attitudes, that can increase the risk. Exposure to violence and conflict in the family. There are some relationship risk factors. So authoritarian child rearing attitudes. So either very harsh, and then on the other side of that, it's permissive parenting styles. So lax or inconsistent parenting practices. So a permissive parent is more of a friend than a parent. An authoritarian is all control, but without love. And the best way to raise children is what we call authoritative, where we are balancing love and discipline. So still have boundaries, still have, rules, expectations. I still want my kid to come home, but not so overprotective, not so authoritarian, do as I do, I never have to explain anything to you, but not so permissive where it's like you can do whatever, come home when you want, that kind of thing. Parental substance abuse or criminality, poor family functioning, involvement in gangs, social rejection by peers, low commitment to school, and school failure. And so really like a person not really feeling a sense of a future. So, and then community risk factors are communities with high rates of violence and crime, communities with diminished economic opportunities, communities with high rates of unemployment, communities with high concentrations. So, because what happens is when residents don't have as many opportunities, that can increase crime. And so addressing issues, making sure that the needs of everyone is met is really important. Some protective factors can be doing well in school. And we've got cases where the person did not have any of these risk factors and they still did a crime. So a person can not have risk factors and still, but we do know that these things can increase a person's risk. And then, so youth violence is not caused by any one factor. Instead, it can be a combination of individual, relationship, community, and societal things that can increase or decrease the risk for violence. And so there are also protective factors and factors that can decrease the likelihood of experiencing or perpetrating youth violence. And so understanding and addressing these risk and protective factors can identify various opportunities for prevention. And so I wanted to share that. So ADHD just comes with impulse control, and so it's not every person with ADHD, but there are a lot of people that. So I've worked with people that use substances to manage their ADHD instead of legal treatments. They will maybe start failing in school, start to get a little hopeless, and then get involved with a peer group that is kind of risk taking, but in a let's go rob people and not a let's go, you know, I don't know, let's go do something else. Something that's a little bit more positive. And so yes. All right. So in ADHD isn't the one thing, it's a combination of things. I know I have a family member that really, I think the ADHD wasn't, it was a combination of things, and then combined with just poor decisions in relationships that would kind of lead to issues with the law. But now they're doing well. They've been they haven't had any issues with incarceration since they moved away from that problematic relationship. And so that was positive. But all right. Somebody mentioned, I don't think the mom told the truth either. So the mom returned the rental car after the crime. So I think Tanner told her, sorry, I keep saying Tanner, y'all know me in names. I think Thomas told her what happened, and she took the rental car. So that the car that was used in the crime was not their car, it was a rental car. And so she exchanged the rental car right after, like, I think the next day. And so, yeah. Yeah. And so, y'all know I use caffeine to treat. So I've never done crimes. I do sometimes speed a little. So people with ADHD are more likely to speed and get into car accidents. I have backed into somebody. I have had a few car accidents. I haven't had a car accident in a while. Ooh, I hit a parked car. That was like a year. I think it was a year ago. Might have been 6 months ago. I did. So it doesn't always have to be like, and I left a note and all the things that you're supposed to do when something like that happens. Even went into the store to have the person paged and all that good stuff. But yes. So yes, I squirrel and am easily distracted. I don't do crimes. Remember, that's our whole thing here. Don't do crimes. And I don't speed to the point of reckless driving or to where like I'd get a ticket. So I haven't had a ticket in probably 10, 15. It's been a lot of years since I had a ticket. I was pulled over maybe 6 or 7 years ago, but my tags had expired and I forgot. So I had purchased the tags. I just hadn't put the new tags on my car. That was probably ADHD related too. So much makes sense looking back. But yes. So with this comment that Christopher Horne came off this way, I also felt that Thomas Stein came off in a similar way. So, and I think, so that's why I played part of Christopher Horne's testimony, because I don't know that he was completely forthright. And the judge will look at that. They'll look at his behavior on the stand, and we will see what decision is made moving forward. Because I believe the girls that there were more than 2 people that had weapons pointed at them, because the girls said there were 4 individuals that each had a weapon pointed at them during this incident, and that one of them shot. And so it is what it is. My heart goes out to the families of the surviving victims, and then also Kayla's family. And that's why I wanted to share Kayla's house, talking about preventing and reducing youth violence. Be kind, don't do crimes, and I will see you all on Saturday. Me and Mama. So my mom, Johnny Lloyd, this Sunday is Mother's Day. And so my mom and I are going to do a joint live where we answer your questions And we, because I have a community tab open. So if you have questions for me and Mama, go over to that picture of me holding the baby tiger. It's a real baby tiger. It's not a stuffed animal. And we'll talk about, because y'all have questions about where were we? Why are we holding why? Yeah, it's mostly me holding the tiger. Mama, I have questions for you about that. So we will talk about that on Saturday, but I will see you all next time. Have a good one. Bye.